Hi there, I'm Eddie, this is
Brandon,
and this is
Jordan,
and this is Couch Potatoes, and we're going to talk about some films, and that's a baby crying.
Yeah, my daughter's here, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to eat her after.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
With mashed potatoes.
With mashed potatoes. Okay, so our first film that we're going to speak about is, sorry, I totally forgot. The Titan, that's
The
right.
Titan, on Netflix,
So
a Netflix original.
these two
Netflix
guys
original.
really enjoyed it. I thought
Whoa.
it was...
I didn't really enjoy it.
He liked it more than I did.
I liked it more than both of you guys.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I thought I only got halfway through it, and then I was like, this is the same as Avatar, and this guy's from Avatar, so I was like, I don't know if I can make it through this entire film.
And we haven't seen, like, any of the movies we talk about, we haven't seen them prior. Like,
We specifically watched them to talk about them on this
Yeah.
show.
Exactly.
So for the most part, yeah, I didn't like Titan. What did you think?
Well, okay, before we get, what was the plot? So
it's, you know, Earth is dying. There's war and everything,
kind of one of those,
post-apocalyptic.
like, yeah, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah,
like,
And humanity's
like,
trying to get out and, you know, go off into space. But you know, the only planet that's habitable, apparently, for some reason, is Titan, which is like ridiculous because there's so many other habitable planets that we found and stuff.
Oh yeah, also Eddie has a degree in astrophysics.
I do. But you know what I mean? Like
No, I know. It's a little bit overplayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you've actually ever read any science stuff, you know that like Titan's weird to pick because it's like super, like it's habitable,
It's very
but like
specific. Like,
it's
Well, I
very
think it's specific
unlikely.
for a reason, though, and I think if you
plot
had actually
reasons.
finished the whole movie,
That's
you would
fair.
know the specific reason. The guy really wanted to make a Titan person to,
Yeah.
I guess, like prove that he could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't get all the way down.
I mean-
so that was an aspect of it too. It wasn't
Yeah.
so much they wanted to live on this
a lot
planet
of it
because it was the only one.
This scientist trying to like validate his experiments in the past by making it a thing and basically saying like you have to. There's no other choice now because it's
Okay.
the apocalypse.
Okay.
And so
like he kept the main driving force was like, oh, the future generation. That's why he kept like pushing like what world are your kids gonna live on? Like, because he knew that, like, full spoilers by the way.
this show has spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But pretty much the whole driving force is like saving the world for the next generation, which is why Sam Worthington, or Rick in the movie, is willing to do it, and why he's so down to do it is because he wants his son to live in a better place. But
Yeah.
even I, like, initially when they're like, oh yeah, Titan, Saturn's moon.
Oh, well,
like,
we also
oh.
haven't gotten into the meat of the story, which is
Oh.
this program that this scientist has made
The Titan program.
to change the way the human anatomy works so that it can survive on Titan. And this is like
Yeah.
the premier pilot program
Yeah.
of like they're going to test like 8 people and see if it'll work
Yeah.
or whatever.
So it's changing the people to fit to the planet, not changing the planet to
Yeah,
fit to the people.
because terraforming is really hard, but
I mean,
And
so is,
changing-
changing genetics
so
isn't.
is straight up genetic engineering on something that's already alive and pre-established. Usually, you grow something new. You don't turn something that's already grown
I don't
new.
remember a week I haven't been God. So
Yeah. Well, so I really dug some of the beginning, but for the most part, near the end, I got really, you know, I dipped off. Like I said, I didn't watch the entire film. I tried
What
to.
was it that turned you away from it?
It felt very generic. Like I said earlier, you showed me the ending, and like I said, when we see the full Titan, it's like paint by numbers alien, and it doesn't look very good. Like I said, it's just glossy and it's boring. It's not like the alien from Alien. You know, that's like a really beautifully designed alien, or even the Predator. You know, well-designed alien. This alien, or this manlian,
Manlian.
the Titan. You know, he was just boring. He looks like the thing from
Prometheus?
but also like the thing from Splice.
That's literally what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as they showed him, like,
I mean,
is
the
this
kind
like,
of the ending scene
The
with
name,
him like
even
flexing
the name,
and then
even the name is just like a reference to Prometheus because like the name's f***ing Titan.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
guess.
I saw it and I was like, is this a precursor to Prometheus?
Yeah, like,
because there's like
a
these
lot
guys
of
look
people-
almost the same.
A lot of people I saw in the comments to the trailer thought that too. People are gonna say that you're abusing your child because she's just
I know,
crying.
she's just.
Sometimes
bring her.
babies cry. It's okay.
I know.
I'll bring her on the show. It's all good.
Really, what we're trying to do is nurture the youth to actually enjoy and appreciate decent movies. Or not so decent movies.
Just lock her in a dark room.
No.
That's what Anne Frank did. And
No, that's not how that happened. That's not at all how that worked.
I don't know.
Now
I just
she's
came back and I
quiet.
heard that's not what Anne Frank did.
No,
and I'm worried
yeah.
to find out what she
No,
didn't do.
don't worry.
so cute.
This is my baby Rosalie. She's here with us today.
She's a star.
Hey there, little chub.
Now, what did you think of the Titan, Rosaline?
Her mind powers are telling me she thought it was bad.
she's talking at a low frequency that we can't
Yeah,
hear.
exactly.
Oh yeah, the low frequency that only Titans can speak.
Only
because
babies
air
can
molecules.
speak. Only
are-
babies and Titans can speak.
Speak to each other.
Well, and that and tactile, whatever.
Tactilekinesis?
I took it as a fun sci-fi film that was like,
See,
I wasn't invested enough to be like, I need this to
I'm
be
annoyed
good.
then that you don't like Velvet Buzzsaw. When we get
Well,
to that,
we're
we'll
gonna
talk
get to that.
to that.
No,
talk about that.
that's a whole different.
But that's like the same thing though. It's a fun movie. It's just you can turn your brain off for certain parts of it. You're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, there's fun little like
There's
when
a
they're
reason-
learning about what they can do as
There's a
Titans
reason
and they're
it
in the pool
premiered on
together. That was
Netflix.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's because Netflix bought it.
No, I know, but like that's another reason. Netflix buys these movies nowadays specifically
Well,
because
because
they're
they
on
can
the lower
turn them out
end.
for cheap.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
anyone who's like, I feel like watching a sci-fi movie with the guy from Avatar can watch it. And it's,
fair enough.
And he was
Outstanding.
really like the best
We're
part,
not
too.
sponsored by Netflix, by the way.
No, we're not. But he was really good. Like I was telling you off camera, like I haven't seen a Sam Worthington movie where he didn't do a good job in it. But
I had no problems with the acting in the movie.
yeah, like and that's kind of probably what, because I feel like I was fully invested in this movie. Like, okay, this movie's got to be good. Cause
He
it's
even
like,
really nailed the like disconnection from humanity near the end.
Exactly.
When he becomes the Titan,
when he
makes
right
the
when
full
he figures
transition.
out that he's been lied to, because he was
Yeah.
like blindly going along with this, like didn't care.
Literally
like,
blinded some
and
scenes.
especially when literally, and then even remember when they were first talking to the professor when she was trying to get him to tell the truth. And he was like, stop, like, telling his wife stop. But then, she came at the professor and he told him the truth. You could tell it shut him down.
Yeah.
But like, I will say we'll be jumping all over the movie too. We won't go like.
I'm sorry.
in order,
It's not
but,
linear because no one thinks linearly.
Yeah,
It's garbage.
but one thing I do
She
know
might.
that I didn't like was that his motivation now for doing it was that he was gaining these abilities now. When he's like you're right. I could see everything. There's no dark.
Yeah.
And it's like.
You just
And
spit
it's
on your
like
baby.
right after that, it's like, oh, he's down to do this now. I'm like, okay, like there was a little mistake right there, because now it's like his character is like,
He established himself as like one way and then kind of flipped to that.
yeah,
For a
he
second.
flipped
Yeah.
into someone that was only doing it now for the powers.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Which wasn't promised from the beginning, so I don't.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. I think that as far as little sci-fi flicks go, Netflix didn't make a mistake making it. I think that it was definitely something that's.
I don't know if they made it. They just bought it. I
Or
think.
They just distributed it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Because
Yeah.
what I've noticed is that there's a few Netflix movies or shows that are made by
Yeah,
Netflix,
they rarely
but
make
there's,
anything,
There's
they just
others that are like
distribute
distributed by
That whole
Netflix.
Netflix original is just a lie.
It's just a logo.
yeah, it's just a
no.
logo. Nothing's
Do you
really
guys
a
remember the
Netflix
first
original.
Netflix original movie?
Oh,
I know what it is. It's a test.
What is it?
It's Beasts of No Nation.
Oh, really?
really?
Yeah.
And
It
that
was-
did do very well.
It was outstanding.
Yeah. But that's
Which
because
we did not watch for this, so we're
Yeah,
not going to get
because
into
those
it.
are
but
super
it
indie
was
movies.
an outstanding movie.
I have not watched Beasts of No Nations yet.
It was really good.
I think Netflix is good for indie movies, though.
I like it.
it's really good. Like
Like
It's a
some
nice
of their
creative
shows-
platform for people who are trying to launch their movie making career
Yeah.
in a way that's not going to cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to get on the big screen or get bought out by a large mega company that's like, oh, well, you have to make the movie we want you to make.
Yeah.
You know?
And you could tell too, there was like 4 production companies that made Titan.
Yeah.
Like there were like, you could tell when it's very like, oh, you could tell this would not
they
have seen
scrapped
theaters.
the money together to get
Yeah,
that.
and
which,
then-
which you can also tell from the set because there's really only 4 sets
Yeah.
in the whole thing.
But they're really
But it
nice
fits-
and
and
very
no, and
niche.
it works
Yeah.
well with the story
Yeah.
because they're kind of on this like military camp
Yeah, that
base.
worked out for them too. Like
Yeah.
I was like, who are all these weird people you're gonna hang out with
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
you're transforming into a Titan? And then I remembered, oh no, they're all living in a small
Yeah, they were
military
just like evacuated
community.
out of Los Angeles
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
now unlivable for some nondescript reason.
Well, they were evacuated, but they were put there because of like their skill set.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That you see, like Rick's character was like wandered the desert for like.
He was in
for-
the Syrian desert for 3 days without water.
Yeah, and then like the KSK guy went through stuff. Like everybody had went through something or was.
They proved they were resilient
There's a-
enough to be
yeah,
able to make it through the
survival-
process.
Yeah,
Survival
the
esque and
physical
stuff.
transformation was gonna kill them probably.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So why don't we get into the second film? Because we've been
Okay.
on the Titan for a while.
Yeah, like I said, I was not into Titan, so I didn't really talk very much there. But now, Sorry to Bother You, I really did like, and that was suggested to us by Jordan.
Yes, that was my suggestion that I wasn't gonna
he didn't
own.
want any
I didn't
credit
want
to
to own that
You
because
should. That's such a good suggestion. People.
No, it wasn't.
So like, let's talk about the huge horse cock in the room. This movie, right off the bat, if you've seen the trailers, it's very like obvious it's not going to be like an average movie. It's being told in a very specific style and executed in all these interesting ways. And it does that. And sometimes it's like, why was this even a way you did it?
Well, let's summarize.
Okay. Oh, like the storyline is pretty much simple. This man doesn't have money. It's very existential. He's wondering whether or not his life means anything, why he exists. He gets a job he likes. He starts doing well at that job, so he becomes kind of stoked on life. But it's that vain kind of fake of being stoked on life.
I'm making money now.
Yeah, I'm making money now.
Everything's great. I found something I'm good at.
Now my life's fulfilled because I have money.
Yeah.
And then he gets even better at his job to the point where he's working top tier, and that reveals all this horrible realities of the rich and powerful. And it also shines light on the bullshit that the so-called left heroes and stuff are constantly spouting. It kind of makes fun of both sides in a pretty interesting way. There are some things I wish kind of would have happened more because like I wish, we'll get to it, but like the certain character lines, it would have been interesting if they played out and we found out more about them and it was connected to the bad guys, because that would have gone full circle and it would have been really cool. So the main character, what's his name? I don't remember.
Cassius.
Yeah, Cassius.
Cash Green.
Yes.
Cash Green.
technically.
Yeah, which is funny because his whole film is about his material.
His materialistic.
It's an
endeavors.
on the surface.
Yeah, it's
like,
Not so much.
No.
It's
What's his girlfriend's name?
Yeah, his name's
Oh, jeez, what is her name?
I don't remember. She's from Thor
Detroit.
Ragnarok. Detroit. That's right. Her
Yeah.
name is Detroit.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sums up Detroit. Her name itself is just kind of like.
That's what I was
She's like an
thinking, too.
artist. She's like an artist in like an Oakland scene, trying
right
to
off
be
the bat,
contemporary.
The actress who plays Detroit, Evangeline.
No, that's Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson, you're right. Tessa Thompson. She's English. And there is a scene in this movie where she all of a sudden is doing an English accent.
Tessa Thompson's going to be in the new Men in Black.
Yeah. She is going to be in the
with Chris Hemsworth.
With Chris, yeah. International Men in Black.
Honestly, if they become
And-
the next Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, I'm over it.
And you know what's his name?
Liam Neeson?
My boy Liam Neeson, who wants to go out there.
Boy,
You got to edit that out.
What were you going to say?
I totally lost it now that I'm thinking of Liam Neeson. But
I Will Find You?
oh, that's what it was. So
Wow,
because
that
you were
worked.
talking about his voice. Yeah, you really did. But you were talking about the voice. So the whole premise is that for Cash to be able
he works
to
in
excel.
telemarketing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he works in
he works in
telemarketing. So
telemarketing.
he has
It's
to
a
call
telemarketing
people
business.
and sell things. We don't know what exactly they're selling. The lower tier. We
they're
know
selling-
what the higher
It's like
tier is.
it's like a book series,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a book series, like a
that what it was?
document.
It's some kind of like dictionary
book
encyclopedia type
That's what
thing.
I was thinking, too,
But
'cause I
it's
kept
on like
hearing
a
that.
like how to be better at things, but like
Okay.
like in a vague. It's like
Yeah.
it's peddling bull.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's encyclopedias have been peddled for a long time, so yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've
Because I
got
was thinking
Google.
too, because they kept saying like, "Oh, you liked our issue of this," and like, are they selling magazines or books? But
It's like
I
a
mean,
book,
It's
yeah.
not
Yeah,
really
it's like
important,
a self-help books.
But so the idea is that for him to excel in this business is my boy Danny Glover has to tell him, "Oh, use your white voice."
Because
Danny
he is a
Glover.
black man,
Danny
which is
Glover.
important to know.
Great,
Yeah.
great cameo. Yeah,
Yes, for
from
sure.
Danny Glover.
For sure.
Very interesting.
I will say though, the whole white voice thing, I was down with it because I mean I know what they're. It's like what they're
I
trying
just
to
love
say.
that it's straight up just
But-
white comedians.
Do you know who it is?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I knew
It's,
who-
It's David Cross
David
for
Cross,
Cassius.
and then,
Patton Oswalt
Patton Oswalt.
is
I knew
the
that one,
way
yes.
up guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who Danny Glover's is.
Danny
actually.
Mm-hmm.
was, I think, just. I don't think that was anybody in particular.
Just because he was like a cameo, they didn't hire
Yeah.
a
It was
nobody.
Mel Gibson.
that would have been great.
But what I didn't like though is that they established it as use your white voice, which is fine. Okay, I'm down with it. Whatever.
Yeah, there were some questions I had on that. Like,
But-
what happens when a black person answers the phone? Why would you want to listen to like a creepy sounding white person?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think like, hey, this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I
But
know.
it's not even that though. It's like
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
right.
touching
Yeah.
that.
because like they establish it as use your white man's voice, and the trailers peddle it as use your white man's voice. Like everything you've seen is use the white man's voice. But then when Cash is like the white man's voice, Danny Glover immediately goes, well, it's not your white voice. It's like you want to sound like how they think they should sound.
Well, no,
and it's
that is what he means, though. He's just trying to go beyond the idea of like
It's social
the
commentary
nasally
about,
voice.
It's
more
not
about,
just the physical attributes of the voice, though, because
Yeah.
he talks about confidence. He
Yeah.
talks about sound like you're in the most comfortable, happiest place you've ever been, or
yeah,
whatever.
it's like a state of mind that you've been because like
because of the concept of like the privilege that comes with being white.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're
It's white
using
privilege,
you're
pretty much.
personifying that into a voice to sell something to someone.
Yeah, and I would have been down with that, but it's like it's the fact that he dismisses that it's the white voice though, because it's not like he says like, oh, the white voice as in this. It's like, well, it's not the white voice.
I don't
it's
think he was
that.
trying to dismiss it. I think what he was trying to do was make it clear that it's not just like the regular black comedian doing a white dude impersonation that's kind of cheesy. He's trying to talk about a real serious ideal of having like I'm
You're taken
confident.
care of,
Yeah,
he
I'm
says.
white privileged.
You're not worried about anything. he
Exactly,
says.
and that's its own thing, and I think that's different from what what you mean. But an aspect of this film is the whole idea of being black in America.
Yeah.
And then on that too is like the fact that Cassius doesn't actually even see himself as a regular black man. He says often that he's already kind of seen as somebody who speaks white.
Yeah. They call him Will Smith white.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Cassius already
Will
is
Smith blue.
an outsider within outsiders.
Oh no.
Oh yeah,
Don't even
Will
get me
Smith blue.
started.
I was waiting.
Don't even get me started.
That was a late.
I'm surprised no one's making jokes about swole blue Will Smith. It's just blue Will Smith. No swole blue Will Smith.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna touch it.
I just. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting because he's an outsider within outsiders, and then beyond that we go, and like throughout the film he's an outsider within outsiders within outsiders.
He never truly fits in. Like, 'cause even when he does make it to the top tier, he's still isolated.
Like like we see him and he's only in his office.
It's also because he's torn between a sense of morals about what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because as he progresses, he learns that what they're basically selling and peddling is slavery.
Yeah.
And so he is like, that's wrong, but also I'm so good at this thing now that I want to keep doing it because I'm so good at it.
Because he found his purpose.
He learns what he thinks is his purpose.
Yeah, what he thinks is purpose, which is what.
Just because you're rewarded for doing something doesn't inherently mean that it is good or that it's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's surface level. That doesn't even touch the deep-rooted issues that are discussed in the first 2/3 of the movie about race and race in the workplace and diversity and social commentary on how to interact with other people as a black man in society.
So I think
Which I cannot comment on.
now, really, you can't comment on that? I thought you
I'm
knew
not-
more than any of us
I'm not
about what it's like to be a
I
black
mean,
man.
No.
You're not black?
You're not black?
And
Rosalie, you're not black.
You're black?
I never want to imply.
She just starts talking to herself. Yeah, guy.
Oh, jeez. I
What'd
never
he
want
do?
to imply that, like,
Pulls out
I
a blunt.
am. Jesus Christ. I don't want to imply that I will ever know the plight of the black man in America.
Yeah, no, I get what you
But this
mean.
movie does a good job at sort of showing, like, not the plight of
I
the
mean,
black man in
they
America,
reference
but
the plight of just the average working class
working
white
man,
dude,
yeah.
even too.
Because it's not just.
because there's other people of other races who are also
Yeah,
struggling.
we
There's
see a
Asian
nice
and- yeah.
we see a nice like utopia almost of people who are all working together to try to make a difference to stop. And even with the assholes on the upper floors, there's a mix of like black people. There's like only other than Cassius, there's technically only no. There's two black people. There's a black woman and then that one dude with the weird
But
mutton
the
chops.
underlying
Yeah.
message is
That-
still
okay, was that
to
common?
get to that point.
I don't know. That was not
might
common.
have been.
That was not common.
Okay,
I
because
don't
I
know.
saw him like, is that common?
It almost
It's not
looked
common.
like what's his name? Jordan Peele?
I thought it was
looked
Jordan
like-
Peele.
it looked like
But
him. I
I'm
don't
like,
know for
but
sure.
Jordan
Michael
Peele's
Keegan.
not in that good, not in
be, I
that
don't know.
well shaped, and he's not that young either. So that's why I was like,
But think about the underlying of how all those people of different ethnicities got there with their white voice.
Yeah.
You know, it's still saying like you can succeed
Even-
in the white man's world
even
by being a
the
white man.
people who work in that thing have to put up the voice of the white voice. I imagine like we don't see it, but we see some like old like hippie dude in there, and I imagine that hippie dude does not talk
Probably
like an
is
average
not
white.
talking like a stoner on the phone.
He probably talks like a well, he does talk. Cash does talk to a stoner on the phone, and by acting like a stoner, that was kind of funny. Passing him the blunt and everything. I like that.
Cassius as David Cross talks to.
Yeah. Oh
with his
man,
white voice.
David Cross was great
He's
for this.
funny. He was really good. And
Patton
I loved
Oswalt too.
I loved that
was
like
great.
there was no like he didn't make an appearance, and like that's the
Oh,
inspiration
yeah.
for his white
Yeah,
voice. It was
no.
literally just this is my
It's
white
just
voice.
the white
it's
voice,
David
yeah.
Cross.
Yeah.
You know, it was good.
I like that it's just like so badly dubbed too. It just calls attention to it in the funnest
Yeah,
way.
like that I was gonna comment too, but I think they did that on purpose, the overdubbing, like how it didn't look perfect.
And that's why I came to the conclusion that his girlfriend Detroit is full of shit, because her English accent is also dubbed.
Yeah.
And that was an aspect I realized was important. So there's a scene in the film where his girlfriend Detroit, and like when we meet Detroit, she's cool and artsy, and like she hangs out with Cash.
Edgy art.
And a lot of what she keeps saying is like she digs Cash just the way he is. Like she doesn't have a problem with him like being low on cash, but like struggling in life because it's an honest.
They live in a garage.
Yeah,
You know?
because he's an honest human being, and what she likes about him is his integrity and stuff. She likes the fact that he questions whether or not he'll be remembered. All that stuff seems to be good things to her.
Yeah.
But this is a problem to Cash because he's the one actually living that moment and hating it.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept because, you know, often in indie movies, the girl saves the guy. And this one, it's kind of like, the guy's like, no, you're completely wrong about what I need to save myself. Like, I need to experience life and do some things.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, and as we get to know her more and we see more things, you know, we see her ridiculous jewelry that's kind of funny, but I think is also making fun of her, like the kill, murder.
Yeah.
The ones.
Yeah, that was kind of like, okay.
And then we finally get to her art show, and right off the bat, like her first piece kind of sets up how ridiculous she kind of sounds. It's just like a big Africa. And you could take that as a lot of ways, you know, like maybe I'm sure there are lots of black artists who've made big Africas before. And like, obviously there does have like a lot of symbolism to it. There's a whole concept going on here about people being slaves and stuff. So obviously there's going to be a reference to Africa, especially like this is a film. I wouldn't say it's predominantly black oriented, but that there's a flavor of that in there, you know.
Well, I would say it is because I don't know.
I mean, it was marketed that way.
Anything.
It was marketed that way, definitely, and there's definitely some parts that I'm like, oh yeah, like this is definitely marketed towards black people. But it's in the same way that like Atlanta is marketed towards black people. Like sure, there's black people stuff, but there's also all this sci-fi that you would never have expected on a show on BET like a couple years back. Which, if any of this sounds offensive, I'm not a black man. I'm only a Hispanic man. So I can only say from what I've watched on TV. This is just this doesn't feel like anything Tyler Perry ever made. This doesn't feel like anything Spike Lee ever made. And those are two opposites of the spectrum, and really terrible and really good. So.
And this movie was very, because I looked up the director, and he's very like Spike Lee inspired.
Yeah, and then you could see that. There's definitely some of that like.
But I also want to get in, and before we start off this movie, all right.
Want to get to the horse?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get to the horse.
Well, let's finish off with Detroit. So yeah, Detroit's full of shit because when we get to her art show, one aspect of her art show is that she's speaking to everybody in a British accent. Yeah. And at first, like if this was just how she was doing the show, then you could say, oh, she's just telling Cash what it looks like to be him. And that's what I thought it was at first. But then I remembered she's talking to people there in the British voice.
Yeah.
So we can presume, A, this is actually probably her real voice. And the English voice, the American voice she does is because she's like been there a lot. Because we hear like they named her Detroit because her parents wanted her to be have an American name. Exactly.
So I didn't even catch
she's
that.
probably not American.
Yeah.
So all this stuff she's super in and about, it's almost indigenous. I'm not saying that right.
Ingenuous.
Yes, because. Like, you know, it's whenever you see European people get super stoked about American politics, a part of you's like, I understand it does affect you too, but like, you kind of act like an asshole here. Like, you have no game.
We know Trump's bad.
Yeah,
we
we
don't get to know that.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me. I know that there are problems in my system. There are problems in your system too. Like, Brexit.
We're not gonna get into Brexit right now.
Yeah, Brexit.
So why don't you sit the F down?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what Tessa Thompson's character represents. She's this, like, snooty, artsy left person who like even is from Europe and is super disingenuous and full of shit because she's just faking it with a white voice too. It's just this white voice. Yeah. She not only has a white voice, she has a black voice. That's the American voice.
Yeah.
So she's lying to two sets of people and living on these two borderlines of the world and giving poor Cash for doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And we even see that one of her art pieces, that crappy spray painted eye she made on the board when she was trying to be Left Eye, gets bought in by the main guy.
Yeah.
And it's hanging in his room during his weird sex orgy where we finally get to my favorite part, horsemen with huge horse.
before we get into that,
Yeah.
it's not just the character being represented as a piece of by her actions and whatever.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if it's a flaw in the writing or if it's just genuinely not that important. For a movie that talks about diversity, for a movie that talks about the working class and trying to get everyone equal and fair, this movie doesn't even pass the Bechdel test.
What's the Bechdel test?
The Bechdel test is a test that was
How many
designed-
women show up and don't talk
No, no, no.
about? Sorry.
Any film
I remember that one. That's why.
that has women in it,
Yeah, this is what I thought it was.
they need to have a conversation between two women, not about a man.
Yeah, and that rarely.
She
happens
pushes
in any
feminism
movie.
the whole movie.
but
Not
rarely.
to another woman.
Never speaks to another woman.
Yeah.
Or she
Yeah.
might speak to one, but it's never.
Yeah, every scene takes place between her and another man, and actually, she has a love triangle because she's into
That got me so
cash.
mad.
I was pissed.
Yeah,
I was so
that's another
mad.
disingenuous aspect. We have this like, oh, we're friends, we're tight, we're brothers in this fight to like equality and stuff.
Because they were going to do like a strike and.
Yeah, because
And we
they're
can-
working to make the union.
And we can argue.
And then-
We've gotten ahead of ourselves. Stephen Yeun is another character in this movie, and he plays. His name isn't Glenn in this, is it? It's what was it?
Squeeze.
Squeeze. Such a. What the?
It's alternate Oakland.
They don't
just
even
go.
tell him. They don't
Alternate
even tell you his
Oakland.
real name. They're just like, oh, we call
Alternate
him
universe
Squeeze.
Oakland. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the
This
synopsis
is
said.
Oakland. We're like, really? That's what the
It's
alternate
the
universe.
alternate universe Oakland.
That's cool. I didn't realize that.
You shouldn't like that. That shouldn't
No,
make
that
you
blows
happy.
my mind. That's so much better. That explains the horse
We
people.
didn't- you didn't-
No, it doesn't.
It
No,
does.
it doesn't. No,
This is a
No,
universe.
it doesn't.
This is a universe where human DNA is far more malleable, and you can make cocaine that turns you into a horse.
Oh my God.
It's Rick and
That-
Morty
no, that's
logic.
called bad writing.
In
That's what
infinite
that's called.
universes,
So-
there is infinite
so
possibilities.
Cash does so well in his company that he basically soars to the top of the corporate
Becomes a
ladder.
power
Well,
caller.
we got off
Power
Stephen Yeun.
caller.
Power caller.
Also, yeah, the guy,
Stephen
the
Yeun.
love triangle.
Stephen Yeun exists to represent the small people where Cash starts off in.
Yeah.
And he is super about trying to create unions. And he even mentions and drops kind of in passing, almost like he's trying to get everybody like to think he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that was like name dropping almost. That he started a union in LA before he had
For
to
sign
leave.
twirlers.
For sign
sign twirlers.
twirlers.
But then he also says because even Detroit asked him, was like, so is that what you do? You just go around stirring up trouble? He's like, only where it's needed. Like,
Yeah.
So
He's so
his-
full of shit.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
such
So
a
he goes
douchebag.
around and starts unions.
Yeah.
And
Which-
you can see it when in the actual riot when he's like yelling all the stuff, and then he starts talking about chlamydia.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of like, wait,
That
what?
was more of a funny break, I thought.
It was no, it was an aside, but also it
Yeah,
was
it
part of
showed
his
that he's
character.
It lays,
Like, he doesn't
yeah,
even-
it lays,
Every character who you
hey,
want
yeah,
to get
wait, doesn't
behind
that
is
mean that
full of
he
shit.
gave doesn't that mean he gave her chlamydia then?
Probably.
Because they did everything but.
Probably.
Man, poor Cash.
But but you know what though? Like
yeah.
she's
Yeah, Stephen Yeun is a piece of in this movie. At first you think he's really cool and you think he's gonna be like the best friend character.
Yeah.
And you can argue maybe we're being like ignorant for assuming that because two people were together and then they broke up. They all
didn't break up.
They were
They
not
were on a
done.
break. They were on a break.
They weren't even on a break.
No, they weren't even on a break. They got in a fight, and she went to her studio or whatever the F.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she was like, "F you," and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even then, like they weren't on a break because even she tells him like, oh, I love you, baby, I
Well,
still
that
love you,
wasn't
but
that
I
wasn't
can't.
until she
like,
found
you
out
need
all the stuff about him though, like
yeah,
all the information.
But she didn't say she said like you need to stop doing this or else I can't be with you. So it's not like she's saying like
Yeah,
we're done. She's saying if you keep doing it, then we're done.
She gave him the ultimatum, but he clearly didn't do it. And then also she gave him the
That was
ultimatum.
after she cheated
if you
on him.
come,
Yeah,
no, but if you
afterwards.
come into work today, then we're over. That was before
Yeah.
she cheated on him. And then he got hit in the soda by the head in the soda.
no,
Remember that's what
she
happened.
told him that, and
It
then
might
that
be.
night,
He might be right, but
yeah.
but there's still no clear discussion.
Yeah. We
that
can have, yeah.
happened.
That's
I mean,
not enough
the
to say they're
minutia
broken.
of a breakup is
Yeah.
not. I feel like we're broken up because he went over there and we didn't fight about
Much
it.
like
So-
Ross and Rachel's breakup, the whole point is it's supposed to be kind of blurred,
Gray
where you,
area,
where
yeah.
you can't really be sure, where you could feel.
Well, what I can be
their
sure about is
side.
if you're even in turmoil with someone, don't f his friend.
Yeah, that's
Exactly,
true.
yeah.
But that's the
And if you're the
definite.
guy's friend, don't f his
Yeah,
girl.
that's the true crossing of the line. But then we also could get like, I feel like to a degree this movie is trying to talk the left, who like thinks that if you do anything that isn't 100% left, you're a bootlicker. I have friends who post like that on like Facebook and stuff. Like
Yeah.
police are bootlickers and.
I told you not to talk about my Facebook. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But like, you know what I get? Like that, I understand there are people who you could probably say are bootlickers. Most people who work for Trump.
What's a
probably bootlicker. Like they're
Like they kiss ass. Like
kiss
They
round
do
nose.
everything. Yeah, kind of.
But
Yeah.
for like the government and like authoritative regimes and stuff.
Oh,
like
okay.
Yeah.
the boot, like the boots are supposed to be
government
Nazi boots. Yeah.
Nazi boots, yeah.
And so yeah, I have friends who post like that, and I understand their point of view, and they're probably right about the certain people in high places. Sure.
Wait, let's say,
but to
like-
make the just general statement, anybody who disagrees with left ideology therefore is a bootlicker. Kind of
It's super wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's what his name is Stephen Yu, right?
Stephen Yeun. In Walking Dead, it's Glenn.
What's his real name?
Stephen Yeun.
Stephen Yeun. Stephen Yeun's character does that. He's clearly somebody who sees Cassius as less, all because he decided to do something that, yeah, we could argue the moral grayness of and right and wrongs, but it still doesn't give him the justification to be an asshole just like that.
Yeah.
So I think a part of this movie is to say, yeah, like the left's right about trying to fight for equality and stuff, but there's also this, thank you, there's also this sense of like, you're being an asshole yourself when you're pushing it to such a dark and like.
It's kind of like those militant atheists. Who are just like, oh, you believe in God? Well, I'm not.
An atheist tattoo on his chest.
I didn't flash it.
No, I know.
But it's a comparison that big.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Atheists who are super chill.
Yeah, look like assholes. Exactly.
Yeah.
When I see the dude screaming at the library about how f***ing stupid people who believe in God are, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, just like when you see an overly religious person who does the same
It
thing.
says like you're going to hell.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So extremism in this film is like tackled, and I thought.
Oh no, I mean extremism gets tackled.
I don't think it's finished,
We
but
have spent like 15 to 20 minutes on the first 2/3 of the.
I know this movie was big and chunky and good.
The
But
last-
that's the time
yeah.
though, like
This movie was.
this
The
first
movie
half
was
is
it was
good.
on an awesome path,
Yes.
and then it went really
Way
left. Like it
sideways.
just was like.
I don't think because of a movie having an interesting or overly weird end, that doesn't necessarily devalue it.
I'm not devaluing the film.
But it feels like you.
the messages that were behind it.
I will devalue
Some of
that
the messages
so
that were
much.
behind it were important.
Yeah.
And said things about our
A lot of things
society
happened, I guess
that
you could
needed to
say.
be said. And then they got a horse in the face.
So at the very like near end of the film,
like the
where it
last
goes off the
40-ish
rails.
minutes,
he
yeah.
gets invited to this big party.
Because he's a power caller. He finally
He made it to
Pretty
top
much,
tier.
he's a lobbyist. He's a lobbyist. It's like
Which side note, I actually really like that. You see, like he has the goal set in the beginning.
Yeah.
He wants to be the power caller, and you see him get it.
Yeah.
But then you see the
what it
repercussions
really
of
is
him
to be a
getting it.
power caller.
Yeah, they're selling slavery.
Yeah,
Which is
they're
good.
selling
That
slavery.
part is really good. But then
So a big aspect of that is like they're pretty much just lobbyists, and I was actually kind of disappointed that wasn't what they just were. That we found out though, you're lobbyists for us now. You're gonna go to the DC and you're gonna maybe you will make calls, but same thing pretty much.
Yeah.
I really love that scene in the Japanese man's bathroom where he turns the bidet on for him. Oh, yeah. I love that.
that part was really that was the best.
Just the way he speaks with him too. He's just like
So he
And like
goes.
in his face too. Like I noticed that too. Like the whole time he's just like in his face the whole time, and I loved that.
we'll beat you. We'll beat those bastards. Yeah, like, I just love that.
So we go to the party.
The party is a big orgy.
Yeah,
Still
and
fine.
people
We're
going
still
nuts.
in a good-
and,
we're
and,
still in
and
a
yeah,
point.
and the main like the head guy of the whole like company.
He's such an asshole. He's got a rhino that's just been destroyed by an AK-47 on his wall.
He took 2 full clips. And I'm like, you shot
his head is all just sewed
the
together.
guy is meant to represent the shittiest of the shit at the top
Yeah.
of the
Like,
1%.
He's literally introduced to us just doing a long line of cocaine.
Yeah.
And he tries to get Cassius to talk about how hard it is growing up on the streets and basically make a show of that.
Yeah, of Cassius being a
Of
black
Cassius being a black man.
and having had a.
how hard that is. Yeah.
Like especially when he's like literally sitting there, and I caught it. It's very hard to miss, but it's literally like imagine Cash, who's pretty much the only black guy other than the other top tier guy, but who's in the crowd of
Who
nothing
does
but
this
white
weird
people.
kind of like afraid master slave sort of thing with the guy? Like, if you've ever seen a slave movie, there's the stock character of the house slave, and that's like the top slave that like is pretty much just treated like a free person.
Like the house one.
Yeah,
That's what
because
they call the house.
because he lives inside the house. He had this vibe kind of like to that, like Samuel L. Jackson in like,
Django?
Yeah, he's subservient to this white dude. Yeah, he's got his own like ways, but he's clearly subservient, and like he kind of brings that up when he like finally breaks the white voice. We only see him break the white voice once. It was really
Yeah.
scary. I was wondering if there was going to be a point where we realized he'd lost his original identity, sort of like in a Get Out type twist, and like he doesn't even remember what it was like to sound like a black dude.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
That would have.
And I thought it was cool too that he broke his voice to tell him that, to tell him
Oh, yeah,
go
like,
to the
this
room
is- this
and,
is
you'll,
an
and
important-
you'll see it.
With
And I
like,
thought that was really good.
like a lot of the things I want to point out kind of sound offensive because they sound like we're talking about stereotypes, but like some of these stereotypes have some points. Like when he says the term young blood, like that's a prominent like phrase in the African American community to talk about younger people. He's really saying young person, like you should go out and do this thing with your life. It's gonna make it better. You really need to consider this possibility. Like this is top tier, living high.
You're a power caller.
Yeah, power caller. But beyond that even, because he's going beyond that, he's going to be Martin Luther King to horsemen. And then this is where the movie gets really weird. So he invites him into his like back area, which is super creepy, to do a weird swirl of cocaine that we're right off the bat we're called to the fact that it's kind of a weird looking swirl of cocaine. Was it kind of bluish?
It had a different color, but also the plate it was on.
Oh yeah, it had a horse on it.
Had a horse on
head
it.
Which, by the way, it's a good fake out.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing you
That's
see
the
in
first
that
thing,
meeting.
and I didn't
is him
expect
snorting that.
anything beyond that. Like, I just thought, oh, he's doing coke, and now he's gonna find out his weird thing. So he's about to watch this little video that'll explain the whole process of what he wants him to do and how he wants him to like work for him.
But he's got to
But he has to take a piss.
for plot reasons.
So he goes into the wrong.
Call that plot armor.
He tells him go in through the J door.
Which every door in the hall was green.
You see the J door when he leaves, and he goes.
A lot of white people colors are used, like magenta. Go find the magenta door. I was like, what the is a magenta door?
I don't even know. Is it
Yeah.
purple?
I think it's orange, isn't it? Like an orange?
Might be.
Which one?
A magenta.
I thought
like
it was
pink.
purple.
That was
It's
the,
like a
that was
pinkish
the main
purple.
door that he was behind. That the office.
Magenta?
Magenta was the door that the office he was supposed to find.
No, it was.
Oh, was it?
It was. Not olive. It was jade.
No,
Yeah,
no.
he says
Jade was,
the
Jade was
bathroom.
the door that he was
Yeah.
supposed to go in for the
I'm
bathroom.
talking about the office door.
He goes into the olive door, doesn't he?
Yeah, he goes into the olive door.
which is
instead
surrounded
of the
by
Jade.
a bunch of olive doors, which is. But the one
Like
he went
one,
to.
point is he
one
goes-
hue off of Jade.
He goes into a fucking green door because he can't tell the difference between Jade and
and
olive
olive,
like any
which
normal person.
no one can.
No, you could though.
And he goes.
No, you can't.
No, when he left.
It was a dark hallway. He just did cocaine.
The point is he
no.
goes into a stall, and in the stall is a fucking horseman mutant.
Like a
Help me! It hurts.
Like a weird, horrible.
like the Minotaur, but a horse instead of the bull.
And like it's like a grotesque, very realistic practical
They
effect.
didn't use
That's the only
claymation.
thing- that
it
is the
was
only
lit.
thing I will give them.
I
Is the
thought it was
practical
lit.
effect.
It made me physically uncomfortable to see.
Yeah, because that was the point. You were supposed to feel
I
like
was-
disgusted by
It
this
was like if
monstrosity.
there was gonna be a horse person, they would look like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
It was very unsettling.
This is a great example of a good design versus a bad design. That for me,
Dude,
the Titan
I'm not
trash.
kidding.
That horseman dope. If the Titan had been about a horseman, I would have watched that and
I'm
been so
not
into it.
exaggerating. My girlfriend was out of town when I watched this movie. I struggled to sleep that night.
Really, you're just afraid a horseman was gonna rape you,
The f***ing horse people
dude?
They were
made
scary.
me uncomfortable to exist.
Like it's a lot like the original Ninja Turtles movie. Where they look very human and real, but
the same-
turtly at the
yeah.
same time.
it was
Imagine that, but
It's
they
very
have today's.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it's very uncomfortable.
it was very unsettling.
But the horsemen also like are just absolutely nude. You have huge horse cocks.
And they're
This is the
ripped.
point.
They're jacked.
Yeah, they're jacked. They're supposed to be superhumanly strong. That's kind of an
Which is
aspect
the
of it.
point.
Yeah, because he wants to make a new form of slave labor where it's pretty much the same pay, but you're replacing the human workers with what do they call them?
Equisapien.
Equisapiens.
And pretty much this is the difference between like the original slave trade of Africa, where you'd capture people and you'd sell them, and chattel slavery, where you raise them.
Was the high priced one.
Yeah, and this is much like actual slavery in America. Human beings were treated like cattle and bovines and whatnot, and eventually and were treated. And there's like even another level of like how African men in pornography and in also just general media are sometimes portrayed as these like overly sexual animal-like creatures. The concept stud, buck, things like that are usually used to describe men, all races really, but African American men. I just took a stereotypes class, so I know about this.
Oh, that's what it was, huh?
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're going off on a real deep philosophical tangent
this
here.
This movie's got a lot of
No, it
and
does,
like
it does.
horsemen and horse are like sadly a part of that.
So
Yeah.
but the way they become horses is important.
Yeah, they have to snort a line of like.
Of like a chemical that's similar to
similar to
cocaine.
coke.
All these movies are very closely related. Like
what I
it's
was
kind of
thinking,
weird.
too,
Like the first one is about genetic engineering and human progression and evolution, and this one's also about that kind of near the end.
Yeah.
And the next one's about the fakeness of being an artist, and this one also has that aspect
It
to
does.
it.
It kind of transition well.
Yeah, but yeah.
Are we too similar? Is that the problem? Because we each three picked one of the movies.
Yeah, we all kind of picked movies we hated too.
So I-
We were
yeah,
all
'cause
like,
I picked-
these movies sucked.
I mean, no, but he picked the Titan. You liked the Titan.
I like Titan.
He liked Titan. He didn't like our movies.
I liked Buzzsaw and I liked Sorry to Bother You. I really enjoyed them both. I'm surprised you didn't like Sorry to Bother You.
It's not that I didn't like it. The first 2/3 of the movie was
Exactly.
an outstanding
That's where
film.
I am. Like-
it just made me so uncomfortable. I could not enjoy it.
It's a lot like
literally.
Dusk Till Dawn when like you get halfway through the movie, then all of a sudden
And
vampires.
Cash, dude, I hated that movie.
You don't like Dusk Till Dawn? That's such a good movie. Same thing. You get halfway through and then it gets so much crazier because now there's
got dead
monsters.
serious.
So
Like-
Cash finds the horse people. He wasn't supposed to find him. He learns that
Because
this
he
guy's
was supposed to watch
Yeah.
the video
right.
first.
The video is supposed to show him that you turn people into horses to make them slaves, etc., etc.
And he clearly snorted the chemical that turns you into a horse.
But he doesn't know that.
Yeah, he doesn't know that, and
Right.
because it's a time lapse thing, obviously it's
Also,
not going to happen immediately.
But it's a double fake out too, because at the end
Oh yeah, at the end he does turn into a horse. Yeah.
It was the chemical,
Yeah,
it turns
so
out. But the guy was like, I would never force you to turn
I
into
was
a horse
kind of
person.
hoping
Yeah.
that it was going to turn out that he was also a horse person because he, like how he talked
lived?
about the horse.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like he's like, oh, I totally want a horse. That sounds awesome. Like he's the guy creating them. You think he'd have a weird messiah
Let's
complex?
finish the synopsis. So he explains to him, yeah, we're going to turn people into horses to make them into slaves, blah, blah, blah. Cash is like, oh, that noise, and gets out of there. And in his attempts to try to show the world, like, yo, this is happening, he basically has to completely destroy his reputation as a power caller, his reputation, because he becomes a meme.
Really ignorantly. Well, he was a meme before then.
I know, but
Yeah,
he,
what is it?
He
he,
Soda-
uses
soda
the
can
meme
to the
dumb.
head.
he uses the fame. He goes on their only TV show.
Yeah, what's with
And
the
that-
three
and-
TV shows in the world?
and
that was weird. Again,
Well,
that's
so the
why
po-
it's an alternate universe, so you
Well,
can
the
explain
point of
shit like
those
that.
is to show how people are more willing to watch sensationalized stuff
No,
rather than the
I
actual
get that,
news or
but
stuff
I feel like
that.
that oversimplification is kind of like a you to people who watch stuff that is
That's
sort
true.
of violent. Like I watch the UFC and stuff, and I watch stuff like that. That doesn't mean I'm a hard
not-
who
well,
wants to
it's
just
not
watch
just
people
violent
get
stuff,
hit. Like
It's not-
it's
it's
But
about.
it could also be a message of how similar our media is that we consume, and that it essentially boils down to three genres of what we watch.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Informative,
fair.
sensationalized, and like
Overly,
something else.
overly disgusting. Like, like I got a big Fear Factor vibe, but like Fear Factor's been off the air for so long. I'm like, but there are plenty of reality shows that use the very much Fear Factor.
Yeah.
But the show is like you just got the beat out of you or something.
Bad things happen to you. Everybody watches and laughs.
Uh-huh.
And you can say that about The Bachelor, about lots of TV shows.
Yeah.
What was the other show?
There's the news.
The only news station.
And then
Channel
constantly
3.
commercis, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of
And, yeah.
commercials for the
For
slave
worry-free.
labor, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, the Cribs show about working at the slave labor. That one was
It's a TV
great.
show about how great it is to be a slave with this specific company or whatever.
I love that because that was just so funny.
So he goes through all the trials of society to basically prove to everyone, like, oh my God, there's like horse people, and then he gets cell phone. Oh, because the horse gives him a video message or whatever.
Yeah.
His phone when he fell,
dropped it,
when he
yeah.
first met the horse because he pissed himself and he freaked out. And then the horses grabbed the phone and I guess still having some memories of the past because we learned they actually do remember themselves.
yeah.
They make a video message and dial it to his girlfriend.
Well, what's important before we keep going is that the main head boss guy wants to use Cash to sort of be a Martin Luther King figure
Yeah.
and lead the horse people on a revolution.
But
I
it's controlled by
cannot-
him though.
right.
Like he's controlling what he's gonna say.
It's actually the plot to Snowpiercer too. That's exactly the plot to Snow. Oh, you don't like that movie either? I hated that movie. That movie's sweet. I love that movie.
That's Chris Evans,
It's
right?
not good. It's not.
Where they're on the train.
It's not
Yeah.
the best movie ever, but like it's pretty fun and
I didn't
stylish.
like that movie.
In Snowpiercer and in this movie, there's a big concept of making fun of both the authoritarian and the rebellious freedom fighters as both being just technically psychopaths who want their own way.
Yeah.
And we see that because it turns out the whole point is that he wants this left hero to really just be a hero for the sake of a hero to please the masses, not really to
Yeah.
achieve anything.
The figurehead.
And we see that actually play out a couple of times, like I said, with his girlfriend Detroit, who's totally full of shit, his friend
Squeeze.
Squeeze, who's full of shit, this girl
Really,
who
the only
throws a soda.
Was his black friend. That was
Yeah,
the
his only
one that
friend.
wasn't
Yeah, his
full of
black
it.
friend was technically not. Yeah, he was with him.
Also, Terry Crews.
Terry Crews is cool.
I literally
Terry
had
Crews is
an- I-
nice to everybody. I like
literally
Terry
had
Crews.
a note in here
Terry
that,
Crews is
like-
honestly the nicest person in that film because the whole point is that he's gonna lose his house because
Yeah.
Cash won't pay his rent.
But I literally had a note in here that, like, when he showed up, I'm like, oh, Terry Crews, okay, with hair.
Yeah, Terry
But,
Crews
like,
with hair.
Terry
that's
Crews
true.
with hair, yeah.
Yeah, but that was pretty much his driving force too. Was like, I need to get money, so I could pay back my uncle for my rent, but also because he's gonna lose his house.
Yeah.
So
And that brings into a whole thing of lower middle class people and how they're stressed out and like how somebody like Cash
The constant grind in order to stay ahead of your bills.
should have their own like 20 years ago they'd have their own home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they have to live at home and he's like what 32 probably, probably older. But yeah, that's the type of problem people are dealing with now, and I think that's why that happened in the film. But yeah, people are full of on the left in this movie as much as they are on the right. That girl who throws the soda can at him.
Oh yeah.
She was paid by the soda company to throw the soda can
Exactly.
because it like boosted their and even Cash's.
wait, was she really?
Yeah, they basically reveal that, but
Yeah.
it doesn't change the
I
meme
didn't catch.
status.
Oh, I think I was too distracted.
If anything,
by
it
the
only
horse
helps
people.
the memes.
It's pretty distracting, right?
Yes.
She's
I didn't,
has her own like music video.
Yeah, she ends up
Oh,
making
yeah.
a music video. Yeah, she's like the Cash Me Outside girl.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what she's
that's what it was
supposed to be.
touching
She's
on
supposed
it.
to be the Cash Me Outside girl. But then Cassius unknowingly plays into the same process because when he finally does reveal that horse people are real with straight up bringing the horse people out and like having a full-on strike that's successful, like it's all kind of for naught because like people are stoked on horse people with horse.
They end
They're
up getting super excited
Yeah,
about
they're
him.
like, what the we have TMNT but horses, and that worked out for everybody. They like that. By the way, there was actually a show about TMNT ripoff, but with cows, and they rode horses.
No, that doesn't sound right. That
was
sounds
real.
like the end of the Fairly Odd Parents when they go through the internet.
There really is a TMNT.
Wow, that was literally
there was
what I
a
was thinking
TMNT
too.
ripoff in the '80s where there were people who were horses, or who were cows who rode horses.
But
That's weird. That's weird.
There were a bunch of ripoffs like that. You didn't know that? Like
No,
Battletoads.
man, why would I know? Oh, I know. Battletoads is a video game.
Yeah, but that's a ripoff too. And then
We need to
the
call Pawn Stars and find out if
Whoa.
they have Battletoads.
Street Sharks.
you don't want to get the Battletoad community on.
Yeah,
on
no,
your,
I
on,
definitely
on your
don't want
doorstep.
that.
Street Sharks too.
Okay, so I mean, he ends up basically trying to establish and fix his relationship with Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which doesn't get
And they kind of
fixed.
do. They kind of do.
I think it's fixed.
He ends up, you know, instead of
yeah,
selling
it does,
out.
but that's what angers
All
me
he
too.
does is like intelligently. I think at the end of the movie there is a good message of you need some change in your life once in a while.
Yeah.
He just changed his apartment, and you know what? That was good. That was a reasonable response. He didn't need to get a job.
They did the whole circuitous bullshit for
Well,
nothing.
he went back to work though at Regal View still.
Yeah, but he's working a more reasonable job.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a morally questionable job. This is him just asking people if they want encyclopedias. That's
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah. Until the very end.
Yeah, until the very end where it turns out he
did-
becomes a horse.
Snort the horse stuff.
Because he goes like,
And then he's got a
looks
horse
up
nose.
and he's
Yeah, and he's got a big
And
old
then the
horse.
credits start, and then a few minutes or a few seconds into
You
the
only get
credits.
directed by, and then it cuts to the after credit scene.
And then it's him and a bunch of horse people, and they're at the rich man's house, and the rich man.
And they just whip his ass.
Well, we get the impression.
They
he
break the door in.
Yeah.
I love that T-Rex scene where he just pushes through the door, and then he
Look,
just
walks
wars,
in.
but with a horse's head. That's so like disturbing looking.
Yeah.
Yes, it made me uncomfortable.
That would have been a great horror movie, just like a horseman
No,
killing people.
and that's why I
It would
was.
have been good if that was what the whole plot
Have
was.
you ever
though.
seen Black Sheep? That's actually the plot of Black Sheep. A man gets bitten by genetically altered sheeps,
Oh, I was
and he
thinking of the Tommy
transforms like a
Boy,
were-sheep.
I was thinking of the Tommy Boy David
It's
Spade
fucking
movie.
dope.
That's with the deer.
That's Black Sheep as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking
Different
about.
film.
But that's what I didn't like that. I
You didn't like the horse people?
No, I didn't
dug
understand.
the
I didn't
horse people.
understand what it was.
It
I
was-
know what it meant. I know the metaphor around
If you've ever
it.
seen Tank Girl, it's another like Tank Girl reference too. Tank Girl, there's kangaroo people created for the exact same reason. They're like genetically made soldiers. It makes no sense. They're all actually black dudes. One of them is played by Ice-T. You've never seen Tank Girl either? These are great movies. We're gonna make them watch all these movies.
But like even you say like it doesn't make any sense. Like it's still like
It
this
doesn't make sense, but like the
You
saving
get, like,
grace
well, okay,
is the
like, it-
ridiculousness and the existential problems. So right off the bat, the whole movie is about how everything is kind of pointless and meaningless. So you can get away with making these weird, over-the-top
But that's the thing,
decisions.
though. It wasn't the story wasn't pointless though.
It was though. He failed utterly, and he turned out to be a horseman.
He had a clear goal, even though it was very blurred and obtaining it. But he wanted to be somebody, and the whole movie he's doing it, where he's taking the steps to do it.
But he went through the entire process of getting through all that, and then when he came to the end of it, he realized it didn't have any great value to him, and like being rich.
No, I call horse. Which is not a pun. No, I don't think he realized it didn't have great value to him. I think he was forced to realize that it was so wrong that he made the wrong decision.
That's fair. He was forced to
He
realize.
didn't have some you know what? Maybe I shouldn't push horse people. He was like, oh, this.
He was down to push pretty much slavery and weapons. That was their second thing. They sell weapons and slavery. But once he got to genetically altered horse people and he really saw a weird mutant in front of him, that's when it broke him, and that's when he realized.
I don't want the character to get the free hand me of, oh well, he learned his lesson and wanted to be a good person.
Further on that he snorted the coke, and so once he realized he was going to transform, that was another added benefit. Like, it's not just that he saw these people; it's that now he's a part of those people too.
Well, it's not even that. It kind of shows because. Obviously, the whole movie, he's motivated by his greed because any choice that is offered him
I wouldn't say if that was greed. I would say more like that was more desperation. Greed would be more like you have it already.
That's what I'm getting to, though. His last choice wasn't greed, but the only reason why his last choice was like that was because it affected him directly.
Yeah.
Because he snorted the coke and immediately freaks out because he thinks, oh, now it's going to be me.
Yeah.
Like now I'm going to be affected.
His selfishness sort of comes to light as fear of becoming a horse person becomes a reality for him.
And it's masked as him being a good person.
There's also sort of this, I think, feeling like being a horse person isn't that bad.
I'd never. No. You can go yourself.
I feel like it's supposed to reference like how people are dehumanized by corporations, but you can still live a normal life and be happy.
It's the literal personification of a workhorse, of a person who's being made. Yeah. It's just.
But they still have personality, and they're still trying to have their own.
Well, we know it's painful.
Yeah, it's painful. They're screaming, "I'm in pain!
I'm in pain!"
Let's wrap this up soon too. We got to get to the next one.
Yeah, we need to be on the last film. Yeah, we spent a lot of time.
Sorry about that. You're gonna have to cut that down.
Oh no, I'll leave it all in. I don't care.
Because there's so much substance in the movie. There is a lot to talk about.
Sorry to bother you. Like if you take away anything, the films we talk a lot about, I think they're worth watching at least because maybe we didn't agree that they were all great.
If a film is so bad. I won't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Like if I recommend something and it is actual dog.
We
won't talk about it.
We just are not gonna. We can mention that we watched it and it was.
There's so many sci-fi movies I've never recommend. They're trash.
That's why Titan was we went over it so quickly because
it wasn't the greatest.
Yeah, you didn't think it was great. You thought it was okay. I thought it was actually pretty good. Yeah. But that's because I don't know. I think maybe.
But you also like the visuals in it.
Yeah, I think that's. I look at that. I look at the
I'm
visuals
not totally
and the editing.
On Titan either. It's just it wasn't my cup of tea is all.
Yeah, but
there are plenty
was it
of
a
things about it.
recommended view?
Cool.
Yeah, go watch it.
Go check it out if you're just into a nice sci-fi flick.
Yeah.
Sorry to bother you though. If you're into something that's gonna make you think.
It is gonna make you think, and it's gonna make you feel.
And that's worth it. That's worth it.
But that's the thing though. It made me think the whole movie. But for me. Once the horse element got into it, I checked out and I was like, okay, I have no idea what this movie's about anymore.
But I was so cognitive dissonance, oh, it's just a movie. It has to be just a movie. There's no horse people. For me, I'm not afraid. I'm not oh, there's a horse person in my room. But it made me uncomfortable.
To see the grotesqueness of that horse.
To visually see the metaphor become a real thing that looked so real.
That's powerful though. That means the movie did its job. Yeah.
The director did an outstanding job doing that.
He did a good job at personifying it and visualizing it. But I think just the way it was written in was there really wasn't a setup for it, which may have been intentional. Yeah. But I think something like that, you need some kind of a setup for it. You can't just throw that in way out of left field. You know what I mean? If he had been forced to sit and watch the video, I would have been more okay with it. Yeah. But I just think it wasn't a good writing move to have him leave
and suddenly find it,
and then come back and then have Lift say, well, I told you to sit and watch the video first. And I'm like, you know what, that probably would have been better in writing.
It would have been less jarring.
And then go, and then find it on accident.
Yeah. To see the movie be this is bullshit, and then as he's walking out, a horse guy walks down the hall and is yo, and then that would have been, I'd be whoa, what the
But that's the thing. Like, I think that's literally what it is. It's like the order of how.
Watch the future. There will be horse people coming.
Like the order of how it happens was not good. Like to me, it didn't work. If literally, because the order is he snorts the coke. He gets told to watch the video, says, no, I need to go to the bathroom. No, stay and watch the video. Okay, but I really gotta go. Okay, go watch it. Finds it, comes back, and then watches the video.
It's just like a claymation, like.
Yeah, and there's something
I thought that was hilarious. The fact that it was a claymation.
There was something I wanted to talk about that too, but that the order of those events it missed the mark for me. If it was, no, you're gonna sit and watch this video, because he has a gun on him.
He does have a gun on him, yeah.
He has a gun on him,
a gun
and he
on
still
him.
was like, all right, it's over there. Like, no, you have a gun, force him to sit down and watch it. Yeah. Because
It's
then
like a 45-second video, too.
He's a very silly guy. It's not like
he is
that's
definitely
true.
whimsical.
Yeah.
It's not like the same.
What were you gonna add with the claymation real quick? Because we need to get to Velvet
yeah, we need to
Buzzsaw,
get
yeah.
to that.
So the thing with the claymation thing was that it really cemented the thought that I had on the movie was nudity just for the sake of nudity.
They did claymate the dong.
When it comes to rated R movies, I'm like, okay, there might be some
I
nudity.
didn't
there
think
might
that
be
was.
some
What do you
language,
mean
but-
nudity for the sake of nudity?
Because the claymation
Yeah.
horses had dicks, dude.
Well, it
yeah,
wasn't even
but
that.
they also
It was like
had,
it was the
the
fact
ape
that.
also had though and stuff. They
But
showed
that-
Also that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, why though? Why?
Oh, why?
Why was it necessary?
I feel like it's the aesthetic choice of the world that they're existing in. I don't think it's like I get your point,
Yeah.
but I didn't get the vibe of like a movie's just showing me for like
But
there are
that's the
movies
thing,
that
though.
do that.
It had happened a couple times before that, to where at that point when it happened, I'm like, all right, whatever. It doesn't have like a purpose to be there. Like, so
I
the
think
the actual orgy scene, we see it. You see,
We don't
you
even
see a
see
glimpse of it.
nudity
You see a
in
glimpse
it.
of it.
Yeah, we don't
You
even see
people-
real nudity.
Well,
That's
you see
why-
people having sex. Like,
Yeah,
instead
you
of
see
it-
thrusting in the shadows. I don't
naked
really
thrusting.
see.
But
You
that's the
kind of
thing,
get
though.
a shot, I
But
guess.
that's
I don't,
the thing,
I don't
though.
know.
There's a purpose behind that, because that scene starts on a very close-up of Cash, slow pan out, and you realize he's in this room alone, and then in the next room that it pans into, or tracks into, you see the orgy going on. There's a purpose for that.
Right,
it
it
shows
makes-
that
it-
even in a place where he is accepted, because it's
He's still an outsider.
He's still an outsider, because it's a direct parallel of earlier when he goes to the VIP section and immediately doesn't belong. Even in a place where he does belong, he still feels like an outcast.
I think the cartoon is just really, I guess, the flavor of that world and also that guy who runs the company specifically.
Yeah.
It's clearly not something he's just going to show everybody
No.
anytime soon.
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
about turning people into horses.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. You could argue like, why the did he even spend the money to claymate this? So you could have just written this down.
Literally could have just
Yeah.
written
Yeah,
it
like,
as a
yeah.
brochure. It would have
For
had
plot
pictures.
reasons.
Like
yeah.
you're not going to show this to like everyday people. There's and in it. You have a point.
Yeah.
But I still think it fits. Like this does sound like something personally this guy would have on him to like show his friends and stuff about his company.
It's that's up for debate. And
Yeah,
I don't know enough
whatever.
about
Let's-
it, so.
Let's go to the next.
So we're gonna jump into a movie that is
Disappointed you.
I hated.
I love this. I didn't love this movie. That's the wrong word.
I didn't love
I
it.
enjoy movies very well, easily when they're like stylistic, and I think they have interesting, talking points and stuff. So I enjoyed Velvet Buzzsaw.
I'm gonna just get mine.
Velvet Buzzsaw.
Velvet
Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
had nothing to do with the movie.
nothing to do with the movie.
No, it
to
did.
do-
It was the final. It was
a
the
very-
final kill. It was
Okay,
the final
but even
kill.
that was
You know,
a
I actually
throwaway
wrote
kill.
down the production company to find out what movies they make so I can avoid watching them.
Really?
Well, he made Nightcrawler. The
That's-
director,
yeah,
the
it's the
director of this
Nightcrawler
movie
guy.
made Nightcrawler.
Right. No, I had no problem with the director. He made very, very good.
You just didn't like this movie?
I have a problem with the writer.
He didn't he write it too?
Yeah, I think he wrote
okay,
it.
was
well,
the
I have a
writer
problem
and
with his
director.
writing because
Well, I thought
Okay,
all
anyway,
those things were good. Let me give it, and then they can shit on it.
This is
'cause
actually
they
a
didn't
short
like it.
synopsis because it's basically just
That's
one.
true. It's a very
very simple.
A description I gave it earlier is that it's like a long episode of Supernatural, because it really is like the whole plot is like it's just a ghost of the week type monster of the week.
I didn't even think of
Scenario.
An artist dies.
Artist dies.
His art is taken by
He
an art
was
curator.
he was a mean, horrible man. So like now
Guy
that
was a
his
murderer.
essence is in that art, Horcrux.
thousands of paintings. She
Thousands
said.
of paintings. They all get like some of them get sent. Yeah, some of them get sent out. It's very easy
It's
to
sold
see.
for millions of dollars.
You can see
it
this
becomes
being
really
like an
popular.
episode on any like supernatural-based TV
And
show.
because the paintings have all that evil essence, bad starts to happen
Yeah.
to the people involved.
because
yeah,
his
the
like
ghost-
spirit is
yeah.
embedded
because he
in
painted
the paint.
it in his blood and too.
Yeah.
So like
they're like
his
possessed painting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his physical
Kind of,
soul
yeah.
and body. Yeah.
Yeah. And the paintings are having like people having emotional reactions with them.
Yeah,
And whatever.
and one aspect I really enjoyed is, and you said this earlier too, that the paintings were really good. They are
the
really
paintings
good.
were outstanding.
The paintings were really beautiful. Like at first I was like, oh, like are these gonna just be like cheap? Because like some of the artwork they used to reference the art that is just constantly being out was kind of like supposed to be silly and ridiculous. Like the point was to show like sometimes modern art is like stupid.
Yeah, like the big sphere.
The spear was also kind of dope though. I gotta admit, like I like the idea of you stick it in and it gives you an experience like totally unique
All
to
it
you.
does is probably vibrate.
I know. I
think that's.
But
what the point
I like
of it
to
was,
imagine if it's other things too. Like they don't give you enough information,
Yeah.
so like it's one of those bullshit things that you can only do in a movie.
Yeah.
But
the movie is satire all the way too.
yeah, it's satire. It's not
Is it?
supposed to be. No,
Yes,
yeah.
Because
it
it
is.
feels like it takes itself pretty seriously.
You can take
No.
yourself seriously and be funny, and I think if you're gonna make fun of people who take themselves seriously, you as characters should take yourself seriously.
Which is what Jake Gyllenhaal does.
Jake
as
Gyllenhaal
Morph.
nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He nailed it.
I think
Some
Jake
parts.
Gyllenhaal
Some
and
parts.
all the
I didn't have a
actors
part where
who
Jake
are artists
Gyllenhaal
nailed it.
Yeah, all the artists nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't think Jake Gyllenhaal at any point in that movie did I ever go, well, he didn't nail that part.
I did.
I really felt like he nailed it.
The confrontation between him and Josephina when he has the man in the apartment could have been, I think, a lot better.
Josephina was annoying, but I argue she was probably annoying in the badly written girl. No, annoying.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
don't
really
blame
her
the
fault.
actress.
She had the same
I
problem.
blame the
that,
writing.
She had the same problem that Detroit had.
Yeah,
It was the exact same thing.
I think
that happened.
Detroit was playing a purpose, though. I think Josephina just sucked because they were writing a shitty woman character.
They wanted
I think
a love
so.
triangle in there
They
when it
wanted to
didn't
create a
need
love
one.
triangle that didn't need to exist, and forced sexual tension and forced
Yeah.
angst and forced
I-
all of
and
that
that-
will turn me away from any movie.
That black dude from, I've seen that dude in other stuff before. He was in, wasn't he in that play
Hamilton?
Hamilton? Wasn't he in Hamilton?
He might have been.
I think he was in Hamilton, and then he was in Blackish a couple times. I just remember him because
He plays some new contemporary artist who.
the point
graffiti
is,
artist.
Actually, nothing happens to him at all.
I really dug when his character, just because the characters he plays, it's sort of a reference because he usually plays these artsy, whitish-er black guys who are like up class. But very interestingly, in this film, compared to all the artists, he was
Yeah.
and that was hilarious because he's smoking a wax fin in the studio with all these white people and stuff, and it looked so funny. It looked like he was the flavor of the month because he was dark skinned and
Yeah, and an
urban,
artist, yeah.
an artist, and like he kind of knew that. It was a little self-aware.
I want to start with the mechanics of the film.
Sure, let's go.
I feel like the transitions were jarring.
They were really good.
The establishing
no,
shots.
actually, no. I was thinking of something
I-
else. Some
I-
of
The
them were bad.
establishing shots were awesome, except for the bullshit CGI'd colors and
What
clouds.
CGI'd colors?
Dude, when it was just like LA and there was like a fake cloud coming in that's like a bluish white. I'm like,
didn't-
what the is
I
that?
didn't
You couldn't get a
register
cloud?
that. I didn't register that.
That's probably because you were so into this movie that you're willing to suck its
I
Because you like artsy movies.
I thought it had a lot of what Nightcrawler had. You know, like that.
But Nightcrawler
aesthetic
did it well because
stuff.
what Nightcrawler did is it took the dark and it had the dark was the main theme with lights as the accent. In this case, it was a brightly lit cityscape
Yeah.
with excessive colors meant to be like, well, it's art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But I don't like that.
I
It
think
just
that-
feels like you could. There's natural
But I
beauty
think
that's outside of the art.
I think that's the point of the thing, though. Like he's trying to the film's clearly trying to talk those snooty assholes and that snooty type of being.
Which is where the satire comes in.
So that's why some aspects of it are shot that way.
I didn't like the time skips.
What time skip
There's
was
just
it?
unspecified
I don't think
amounts
that
of
was
time.
a big. I don't think
that
that
are
was
like,
a big amount of time that like
He
blows my
went
mind.
from being gay or thinking he was gay to being in a full-on heterosexual relationship
question
in
about-
an undisclosed amount of
That's
time.
a question about sexuality, though, and then also that's also a question about how long were they friends and because remember.
But they knew each other before.
They knew each
and
other
they
before.
had prior
And they had-
experience
even then, though,
sexually.
their first interaction is like he like wants to go with her to like that.
That's
to that
because they
event,
had-
but, like,
she
in
found
the
out her
taxi,
boyfriend's
he's
cheating or
telling
They've
her-
whatever.
had
yeah.
sex before is the point.
That's what they said.
really?
They had in
That I
like
missed.
Austria or some shit
They had a moment in Austria
where they both thought they were drunk, but it turns out that they actually had feelings for each other, et cetera, et
and
cetera.
he said he's confused.
I have zero issues with the fact that you can be fluid in your sexuality and think you think one thing and then realize actually I feel this way, and that's fine.
And that's the thing. If he
The
was
problem
established
is-
as bisexual,
Well,
I don't think this would
I
have been a
think
problem.
I
don't
think
even-
this
I don't even
movie's
think
just
that.
asking us to assume that that's a possibility
but
more
they
often.
go,
belief.
they go
Well,
from,
because it's the art scene, you know, like that's if you're gonna find anywhere where there's a gay dude who's also maybe into girls, yeah, that's probably the art scene.
and I'm willing to accept that. The problem I'm having is she finds the art conveniently.
Yeah.
By
For
the
plot
way,
reasons.
super convenient.
I
And
don't know, like,
no,
horror
hold on.
movie convenient. Come
She-
on, horror
no,
movie
it
convenient.
wasn't-
It wasn't convenient. It was.
She lives in the same building as the guy who died. I'll give him that.
No,
I'll give her that.
No, it's not even that. It's so like you've probably heard me say over and over for plot reasons or plot writing. It's basically a thing obviously you guys know,
happens
it's
for
things
plot's
that
sake.
happen just to move the plot along.
Yeah.
So,
but how many times do you get that?
Exactly, you get it over, and that's what the
Well,
problem
I
with
don't
this
know.
movie
I
was
think
with
you
me.
really only get it that one time.
No,
She
you
turned
get it a
around.
lot.
She turned around to leave. The cat meows.
The first plot.
The cat meows.
Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna go check out his
Again,
art.
those aspects though.
She's
those
checking
are
her
very,
mail,
very
and the guy
horror.
who's removing the mail name happens to also be the guy who's gonna throw out all of the art. Why is that the same person?
I have that written too. Like, oh, creepy
Oh, 'cause he's a
worker is
super.
creepy. Like
Is he
stuff
the
like
super?
that.
We
That's
don't
what
know.
I assumed.
I'm glad that
Because we
you
see him
assume
later.
that.
Because we see him later on when he starts investigating
Why
the guy's.
is she some super? Like, I know she just works the desk at this art curator's
No, she doesn't.
place.
No, she's like one
She's
of the
like-
people that goes out and
Right.
like advises
So
and stuff.
why
But
does
then
So
she-
she doesn't really work the desk.
Yeah,
That girl,
that's Coco.
the Coco,
Well, Coco
works.
becomes the person who works the desk because she keeps being late.
Originally, she was works the desk.
Yeah.
But then, no, I mean Coco is only works the desk.
Yeah.
She looks like she was working the desk because she was at a phone, but she's above that. I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be like she was being groomed for something. That's why
she's
she
like
gets
being
so
groomed
mad.
To be like more like
So
like a
if she's
more
being
kind of,
groomed to be in this
position.
amazing position of this like outstanding art curator who's going to have an eye for everything, why the does she live in some rundown LA apartment?
Did she? I thought her apartment looked pretty nice.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice.
Yeah.
And why the was right down the hall some dude who lived in destruction? Why does she have some creepy CD
You can-
super?
I can see all these things in LA and it being totally reasonable. It's
Do I
LA,
have
bro.
a totally different perception of LA or the art world in LA?
Well, first off, I didn't even realize this took place in LA.
It-
I
yeah.
thought it
Oh,
just
yeah,
took place.
does it
I
take
thought
place
it-
in
And
LA?
they go to LA.
They go to LA.
Well, because they start somewhere else for a show and
Yeah.
then they go back
Yeah, it
home to
opens
LA.
in Miami.
It opens in Miami. They
That's
go
true.
to LA.
The old man.
Because I remember all the streets that they say.
the old man
I'm
actually might have
familiar
been
with
living
LA.
in Miami then. And
No,
then,
no. She
No,
was
it was
in
in
the,
LA.
she
It
was
was at
in
her
the
home.
same
It was in
building.
LA?
It was
She
at her
lived in
home.
the same building. Right underneath a famous art curator, artist dies.
I mean,
That's
she's not a
convenient.
famous.
That's
she's an
convenient
up.
writing, but
She's an
the-
up
She's an
and
up and coming,
coming.
but the person she works for is famous.
yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't necessarily. There's a couple of different art like
And
top.
and in the business
people who are up
what,
there.
like she says, it's perception. Everything's perception.
Yeah.
Why would you have your second in command living in a dumpster place?
Honestly, I feel like that's one of those hipster places. People like
think it
those
was-
places.
Why would this guy live in hipster?
Well, he's an older man. It's
that
running
guy is
everything.
fine for
Every
him to
for
live in
him
this place.
living where
For
that
him
makes
living
sense.
there, yes, but for her to
She's
live there,
that
it was
new.
weird.
I'd imagine she's supposed to be the new people who are coming in to gentrify it. But you're right. Maybe this is all a little too much assumptions for a film.
That's
Right.
convenient writing, but
But
the
I still
plot,
don't, like
the
this.
plot-
Still doesn't like blow it out of the water and destroy
The
it for
cat
me.
part blew it out of the water for me.
That's a
when
bit much.
she's like,
you have a skinless cat like the one
hairless
in this
cat.
movie.
that's not what I meant.
But I know,
No,
I know what
but-
you're saying. So yes, that whole thing where she just happens to live in the apartment as the guy who is going to be the main plot. That's convenience. But the plot, plot
what
writing
the
is
else
when
would you want? She goes to a storage locker and she just gets
She
it that
literally
way.
could have actually done
I
what
feel
she
like-
told the lawyers and walked
Found it
past
in
a
the trash
dumpster
can.
and seen the paintings and been like, oh, cool.
But then we don't get all that like
That would have been
creepy
equally as convenient.
feeling. No, but we get that creepy feeling of her going through the apartment.
Then just like when she finds the dead body and the door's wide open, just have her walk in then.
She does.
No,
just,
she looks in and then someone
I
comes
get-
around the
okay,
corner and she's like,
fair-
call 911,
fair
and then she
point.
doesn't go in.
Fair point.
Then that's
well, that's
the-
because if somebody just saw her with a body.
Right.
Though.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
That's
Like,
the plot writing too. Like if you see, she saw the can on the ground first and looks up and sees the arm, and you go up there and you see the old guy on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like the note that I took was, like she says, and she says it very calmly. That's plot
Call
writing. She
911.
said, call 911. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why don't you call 911? You found the body.
you have
like,
a phone like in your hand. You
Yeah,
were
you
on
have a
it.
phone. Oh, that's
she was
true, she
texting
was.
when she was walking.
That's a good point.
Yes. So it's like that's plot writing right there. And then seeing the cat, and the cat works as a plot cat because it draws her to the door where she finds the art.
We're gonna have to speed this up. It's about to be like,
it's getting
I got to do homework still too.
Okay, we'll get through it because I've only got a few more things.
Yeah.
But that was my problem.
The main point I was getting to was
the
the time skips that I'm referring to are how much of a relationship is being developed between Jake Gyllenhaal and the woman whose name I'm forgetting. Josephine is the character, but I don't remember the actress's name.
Yeah, it's called Josephine.
They kind of just like, we get an establishing shot and we come back and maybe it's been a month, maybe it's been a week, maybe it's been 2 days, but now they live together. They have one of these paintings in their apartment.
Well, we did have the montage of him studying the paintings before they move in.
Because he must have read a book or whatever.
Yeah, so we can assume from that it's at least...
It's been time. But how much time?
I don't think we need to know how much time,
It's a little important considering how affected he is when it turns out that they go on a break and she starts someone else.
I feel like it's...
Because if I'm only dating you for a month and we take a break, I just think we're broken up.
An aspect of it too is that they're supposed to be shallow kind of people.
They are super shallow.
True.
Like,
and that's actually my next note.
His reason for liking her is you have the most perfect olive
or whatever,
skin.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her reason for liking him is you're way more attractive than my boyfriend and you can shit on his artwork. Yeah. He nearly dies.
He's an art critic.
And that's the thing too that kind of pulled me out was there was too many side plots that didn't make sense with the main plot.
We just jumped to with no transition.
Everybody,
it was just like, now we're over here.
Everybody was trying to benefit off of everybody else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that was an aspect of it.
Likable character the whole
Coco.
No,
it's Coco. Coco's
probably the only good character in that whole movie.
So?
No, by good I mean like the actual good person of the movie.
How can you like her?
Never mind. The only good character is the one, which I do agree that the black artist should have died because it would have
absolutely.
It would have set up
absolutely. He should be
how
dead.
often he looked at the art too.
It implied he was because he's like the painting's
it's also
moving.
like so he clearly is being affected by it because he says, "Oh, I have to leave,"
well,
and we end up finding out that it's just, "Oh no, I want to rejoin my weird little art collective that I left." That's ran by a creepy Native American man.
But that's the thing. That was
an
evidence of plot writing just to get Josephina there.
Honestly,
that's fair. Yeah.
If I had seen a 30-second clip of them in that same bar while Josefina's on the phone of that guy saying, "Yo, I'm sensing some dark spirits or whatever. You should get out of here." And he's like,
really
"Okay."
Though, too.
Well, anything. He didn't even have to be Native American. He could have been just some dude from Guatemala who's just like, "Oh, Nana taught me this, and you should get out of there." Dude, literally any person. That explanation, I would have been like, "Yeah, he should have got the out. Good call."
But I agree that dude should have died because then it would have. I kind of felt like the only good thing in the movie, and it's done by the woman who has the velvet buzzsaw tattoo. What was her name? Do any of you remember? She's like the
Morph
Komodo or something.
I don't remember.
They had weird names.
It was Morph. No, Morph was the main.
Morph was Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
Morph was that's right, Morph.
But she had Morphia or something. Was
no,
her
it was
name.
like something Odo.
Something
they had weird names, but that furthered the satire.
Damn matter. She used to be in a punk band called Velvet Buzzsaw, and for some reason, that's why they called the movie that. It has nothing to do with the film.
No, it has nothing to do with it.
Zero things.
As a stylistic approach, like the name is very Velvet Buzzsaw.
Well, the name is very art whatever because it's like I named it something that inspired me, even though it has nothing to do with the painting.
Everything in the film kind of also.
John Malkovich served no purpose.
No, but that's where I was going to get to. Yeah. John Malkovich is the only decent person, and he gets saved at the end because he's the only one who's. And that's why the black artist should have died because then it shows that even the artists who have been looking at.
How does he get saved in the end?
He gets sent off to the.
Because she sends him to a private island.
And he reinvigorates his artistic spirit there.
Yeah.
So he saves himself.
But he had an equally insane emotional reaction to the paintings that everyone did.
No, he never saw them.
Yes, he did. He saw them at the thing, and that's when he picked up the drink for the first time. He actually drank alcohol.
That's right.
It broke his sobriety.
He mentioned more than once that he'd been drinking, actually.
Yeah.
But no, I did notice that, and I thought that because everybody else was, everybody who wasn't an artist was
only
that camera
trying.
Died. Oh, well, we'll just finish off.
Yeah, we'll figure out on that one.
Everybody who was trying to be an artist was doing it for the art's sake. Like the black artist was doing it because he liked the art. It wasn't for the money. That's why he's leaving the collective. The older artist, he's already famous. He doesn't need the money. Like he says, he just wants to be good again.
Yeah.
He wants to find his spark.
Yeah.
And the paintings gave them the inspiration, but the art critics and the art sellers and all them, they were just making money off it.
They were purely making money.
They were f***ing over this guy to the highest degree. So it makes sense why the vengeful spirit didn't kill them, but it did kill them. because like those people were like true artists. They were worthy of it all.
I really feel like we could have used a tie-in at the end of someone who's continuing to.
Yeah, I would have I told you.
Like literally, everyone dies, and it's like the only person who gets out of there is Coco, who's seen 4 murdered people,
called
and LAPD does nothing.
She's a pretty white girl. What are they gonna?
If I'm a detective in LA and 4 prominent art world people have died and the same little girl keeps calling me, I'm gonna be like, you need to come.
She was connected to all.
You need to come talk to me.
We would have definitely needed like a detective who's like, there's something strange going on in my city.
Literally,
and that's kind of things too. Is like it takes like because in
it would have
films,
been a great way to reference Nightcrawler too.
That would have been funny. That would have been funny if it was the same universe.
Yeah. But that's the thing too, is that like, you know, in films like this, you need the stakes. You need because if there's no stakes, there's no point to the movie. And this movie misses the stakes because there's no detectives investigating this other than.
No one learns anything because everyone's dead.
Exactly. And
there's no one at the end to be like.
So is it saying that art is pointless because this movie was pointless?
No, I think it's focusing more on. It's focusing more on. Well, every movie is pointless.
It's a joke.
Are.
I know.
No, I know what you mean. But this movie's more focusing on like the douchey art.
So douchey art people shouldn't profit off things that they stole from dead people?
I would think it's more like just douchey art people.
It just seems so specific.
Well, it's like every horror movie where there is comeuppance to your bad decisions. Like why the
did you go in their room or whatever?
Why do you need to get murdered because you had sex and you were a teenager? Like, none of that makes sense.
No, that's really stupid.
Yeah, all the old rules
cliche.
for horror movies.
Yeah, it is cliche.
That's the cliche.
But there's lots of cliches in this, including main characters. Like, when she's standing in the alley on the phone, and suddenly there's an art exhibit behind her of graffiti that wasn't there the whole time she was there. And she goes in?
And just her death was dumb. You become a painting.
That was stupid.
That was super dumb.
Well, here's the thing,
what happened to the guy who got pulled by the monkey picture?
Exactly.
What the is that?
That's the thing.
That one was weird, but that one was horrifying because in my mind, I just assumed he was torn apart.
I don't know.
But that's the thing too. Like, if every death was
to see paintings with them in them later
after the fact or something.
Yeah, with like them torn apart and stuff. That would have been useful. Like
that was one of my problems with it too. Is that if all the deaths if all the death scenes would have been as art related as the first guy who dies in Josephina, then I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
There was a massive inconsistency.
No, the other ones were art related too.
No, they were because she stuck her arm in the sphere and then bled out.
And then
like a saw trap.
Even though the guy from 127 Hours was able to hike 8 miles with one arm, but whatever.
He lost a way big chunk of his arm.
But
he had no tourniquet.
But that's the thing
and
too.
And the robot
guy
just choked him.
He broke his neck.
Oh, okay.
You hear the twist too.
But that's the problem though. Is that those two deaths seem out of, even though they had art surrounding them and were art related, they were.
Does not count.
That was stupid.
It was out of place compared to Josephina, who literally got turned into a painting, and then creepy maintenance guy, who's just there to be the creepy maintenance guy, got pulled into a painting.
Creepy maintenance guy? What do you mean?
Well, the guy, the installer.
I do more than just maintenance.
And then there's that guy. The other guy who's the Velvet Buzzsaw's enemy. The other artist.
Oh yeah, who got hung with a silk scarf.
Yeah.
Grown man, silk scarf.
He's a thin, wiry little
dude.
White boy.
That thing would have torn.
Dude, he's not a grown strong man. Come on.
I don't care if he's 150 pounds or less.
I feel like he's maybe 130.
All right,
no,
130 pounds, one scarf.
It's all right. You're fair about the scarf, but I don't know.
And also, scarves have 2 ends. He could just be whoa.
Yeah, he could have undone it.
Yeah.
They could have definitely killed him in a better way.
In a way better way. Like that little doll opens her eyes. I was like, oh, he's going to get stabbed or something.
I thought they were all going to
nope.
tear him apart.
Turns out that he's going to get hung by a creepy hand that came out of nowhere.
Right. I will say, though, the Hobo Man death scene was actually pretty terrifying compared to all of them.
It was super scary. But
it was very terrifying.
It was the only character who should have lived. He was the only one trying to stop it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the actual the way.
If he had been what if he told the hobo guy I'm trying to burn all the art? Would he just be like, oh, okay?
He was redeeming because he was trying.
He tried. He learned something and then was punished for learning because it was too late.
And I was really surprised that they killed Jake Gyllenhaal with 30 minutes left in the movie.
Cool. Like, just because you learn a lesson doesn't mean you should survive. Like,
what's the point of learning the lesson then?
Because this is supposed to be the real world to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, in the real world, you don't learn a lesson. You get your ass kicked by the world.
I mean,
in this case, there's a ghost. I think we have to wrap this up.
We need to wrap it up.
Okay, just finishing my note on why that part was terrifying was because I really it kind of had the Pennywise from It effect, where in
I'm
one
pretty
scene,
sure that was an
in one
actual
scene
guy
you're
that they,
like he's on the
put
crutches
stuff
trying to
on.
walk,
Yeah.
and then you cut to Josephina and you cut back and you look at Jake. He turns around and you see him like running.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
He went all
'cause
iRobot on his ass.
very
yeah.
effective because
that was
it
cool.
wasn't the next shot. You cut, you broke it up, went back, and you're like, oh, he's probably still. Oh, he's running.
Yeah, the got
But-
real. Yeah.
Not Josephina's death. Velvet Buzzsaw death.
Oh, yo, their
That
tattoo.
was the
I
dumbest
liked
part.
the setup, but you're right. The tattoo
I did not
was
like the
pretty
setup.
dumb.
It was f***ing
No,
stupid.
the setup was cool.
No, there wasn't a setup for it.
should-
It was just
it should've-
zoom in on her tattoo, and then it spins,
No,
and I'm like,
she's the painting.
She's reenacting a painting that she flipped over.
She didn't realize she'd become the painting that she had of his. The
Yeah.
one with the lady just sitting and chilling with her cat. She'd become the painting.
She'd become the painting.
And that's how she,
The shadows from the cactus created shadows that looked like people,
This
and then
whole
she was
film-
kneeled over like the painting with the cat next to her.
Like whenever the kills happen, it's sort of like you need some of his heart to be nearby to like create the circuit.
Yeah,
and
it set
you
the
need
rules.
another piece of art to end the circuit. So the art that ended the circuit was her tattoo, but what began the circuit was her reenacting the painting.
Yeah, because his painting was gone, but it wasn't because she accidentally reenacted
And
it.
there is sort of this
Which
like,
was convenient.
it kind of seems like if you view it too much, if you save it, it sort of becomes a part of you. Like his malevolent spirit gets to you.
I guess, but
'Cause, like,
I mean,
it's on
she
her
could just
phone 'cause she
move the
saved
cactus.
JPEGs.
Yeah, that's true.
So
But that's
it's
what I like
in
too,
their
like, even though
mind-
it was
it's in their
pointless,
mind 'cause, like, they've
yeah.
been staring at him.
That's true.
Like, have you ever seen that episode of Doctor Who where the weeping angel gets in your reflection in your eye? Yeah, like that.
But I like that too, though. Like it never broke the rules that it set, which is the art needs to be near you somehow.
Kind of cool
That
rules,
was
too.
consistent, and I will give it that.
Yeah.
I like
this
that
time.
it's the circuit of my art connects with other people's art, and that will kill you. It probably should have been just the art kills you. That would like his art specifically.
Yeah.
It would have streamlined the plot. Maybe it drags you in, something like that.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
However,
Also, they kind of like pointlessly had that whole he is a pyrokinesis ghost.
oh yeah.
But he never uses
Why-
fire.
Yeah,
for
what was the point of
for
that?
two paintings,
like,
you
that
see
were
little
instances
flame,
where his-
whatever.
That
and-
was a
paintings-
super cool like effect. I thought that would have been.
Yeah.
useful
It really
as fuck.
feels like they had half a movie made, and they were like, "Oh, what if we did this?" And then they
Yeah.
just did it.
Yeah.
Because like it would have been really cool if like his whole kill effect is like, no, I burn everybody.
Yeah,
That would have
that's
been
how I
super
murder people.
convenient. It
Yeah.
would have had an MO.
Yeah.
Definitely should have had a detective to be
Was
just,
established
like,
when
figuring this
Josephina
out.
first found the art was
Yeah.
the fire.
Because he was
Yeah.
trying to burn it. Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, and I
he
remember
even
it's-
reignites. He tries to destroy the fire still. Didn't really like. So if he's a malevolent spirit and he's painted with all his art, why does he want to destroy his art?
I don't
didn't
know,
really
man.
make sense.
because those were his those
none
were his
of it
wishes
makes any
to destroy
sense.
it.
The whole damn movie is
I
just.
get that, but it seems like you would, if you put all your like soul into it, like the Horcrux in Harry Potter exists to keep Voldemort alive.
Yeah.
So why would you do that? Like create pretty much a trap for your soul that you can't escape now. Like did he like realize
plot
how-
reasons.
He watched the
It's
episode of
literally
Supernatural,
because
like,
it's convenient.
If you leave parts of your body
That's what it's saying.
alive,
Like,
Yeah.
your soul's gonna last.
It's
I
pretty
don't
much it's
wanna
plot.
die.
Well, that's
it's
plot
it's
writing.
literally
It's-
just
it's
plot
the
armor.
writing.
It's meant to
That's plot
protect
writing.
the main characters from accidentally figuring out a way out of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you take that out, then
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
movie falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all for this episode. Hopefully, next episode will be more streamlined, guys.
Are we doing potato ratings or?
Potato ratings.
Let's do Titan first. Obviously.
Titan has 1 potato out of 3 potatoes.
Are we doing 3 or 5?
Well, no,
3 because there's 3 of us.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because
So-
I'm
He's
giving
the
a
one
yes.
potato.
yeah. Well, I'd give it a half potato.
So half potato.
1.5
potatoes.
potatoes.
1.5 potato. I give it a no potato. For sorry to bother you, that's 2 potatoes.
1. I don't.
2 potatoes. We'll do 2 potatoes.
2 full potatoes.
2
And one-
full
and one
potatoes.
horse
Giving it a
cock.
full potato.
But it's a shaken spud. Like it's definitely like oh I
Big
don't
old
know.
horse.
It's got,
It's
got
not
a
a
big
comfortable
one
potato.
growing out of it.
I wouldn't eat this potato.
I'll give it a half.
And then Velvet Buzzsaw,
2/3.
I give a full potato.
I want to take away
potato.
a potato because of how awful Velvet Buzzsaw was.
How are you gonna take away potato?
I don't know, but
Should
it's
we no
awful.
potatoes?
I'm giving Sorry to Bother You and Velvet Buzzsaw half potato.
Half potato.
I'm
Okay.
giving
A
Sorry to
potato
Bother
and a
You a
half
half potato
for-
for the half of the
The
movie
first
that
half of the
I
movie
liked.
that's super like
So
in
Sorry
depth,
to
whatever. Yeah.
Bother You is 2.5 potatoes,
Uh-huh.
or was that 3.5?
No, it's
2.5.
2.5. It can't be more than
Yeah,
3.
it's 2.5
Yeah.
potatoes, and Velvet Buzzsaw is 1.5 potatoes.
Because you didn't give it 1.
You didn't give.
Yeah.
it
I'm not giving it any
I'm
potatoes.
giving it a half.
I'm not giving
I
any
liked it.
potatoes.
I thought it deserves 2 full potatoes.
Yeah.
but-
It had potential to be good, but there was too much plot writing and too much
That's
convenience.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah. Next time we'll be reviewing at least The Bad Batch. I'm not sure about what other films.
I haven't thought of any.
Because the way we do it is that we each pick a movie that we
Maybe-
haven't
maybe
seen, and we
Bright.
have everybody
Oh, I
watch it.
hated Bright.
I already
Oh,
watched
Bright
it.
was so awful.
It was bad.
It had so much. I love D&D.
have you seen,
I love D&D, and I can't get behind Bright.
The Disaster Artist?
I haven't seen
haven't.
that.
I heard it was good.
Maybe that
where
would be
where
good.
where's
It's on
it?
Hulu.
Is it on Hulu?
Hulu,
Perfect. Yeah, I can check that
I
out.
think it's also on Netflix. I could be wrong.
No,
But
not Netflix, I don't think.
also, if you have any suggestions,
Oh yeah, please comment.
feel free to
Rate,
comment.
subscribe.
Or-
Like, comment, and
Jesus Christ.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Down in the doobly-doo.
Or whatever. And if you think that there's a movie you want us to watch and Eddie to off while I tear it apart,
Yeah.
or
And while I
movie
play
for-
middleman.
or whatever, yeah.
Or a movie for Jordan to just like gag over while I just.
Really have a hard time enjoying movies.
I'm
I don't
sure
know
we'll-
why I do
I'm
this.
sure we'll find one that you're just like, oh my god, I love.
No, there are great movies. Fight Club.
Fight Club.
That's a great movie.
But we can't talk about
Shit on Fight Club all day. I could.
we can't talk
You
about
mean
that
that
one, though.
homoerotic piece of shit that's just like,
Hey, I'm sorry that you're homophobic.
whoa, or that cringe lord, edge lord.
It's pretty edgy. It's pretty angsty.
Lord.
It's pretty hot topic-y as a movie.
Or there's so many ways you can see that movie.
Yeah.
You can see that from the super
Yeah.
left, and it's just on corporations. You see that from the super right, and it's like men are nowadays.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, it's got it.
If you think,
We're not gonna get
if
into
you
that.
think Eddie's homophobic, like, comment, and subscribe.
Brandon is homophobic, so like.
Oh, okay.
not.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
But I think this is cool though.
All right.
Yeah, this is good. This is
We'll-
good.
We'll start. Oh, go get the baby. Make her say goodbye.
Oh,
No,
well,
she looks like she's
asleep. I
chilling.
don't
Let's
wanna-
leave her alone.
Alright,
Yeah.
Don't wake the Terminator.
The baby will be probably here again. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
don't know.
maybe
Maybe.
baby.
Or maybe baby.
If you
All
guys
right.
want her back.
Well, see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Make good
Bye.
choices.
Make good choices.